racist, homophobic, black supremacist. Now these are just some of the terms that I've heard over the years used to describe Dr. X, a man with his own unique take on the world. Ghettoology. I don't know what ghettoology is, but we're about to find out. Dr. X, thank you for joining me, man.
Yeah, respect, man.
You've been going for a while now. You've been talking your truth for a while, couple decades now, I would say. But a terminology keeps coming up, ghettoology. What is ghettoology?
Oh, when I first started, talking and stuff like that, I had a unique perspective. So, and it was basically aimed at really younger people and evolving a mindset based on, the music that was listened to at the time, a lot of hip hop and stuff like that, and bashment and all that. And there was a song called Ghettoology by Sugar Minor, and I really liked that. I really liked that term, and it kind of reminded me of ghetto. So I looked it up, and ghetto just means places where people dwell together. So I said, oh, that's what I'm dealing with, like just areas where people clog together, and they live. It's not necessarily a slum. Ghetto doesn't mean thought. It doesn't mean ratchet. It doesn't mean none of that. That's not what ghetto means. Ghetto means just a place where people dwell together. So obviously they share like values and stuff like that. Stevie Wonder came out of a ghetto. Michael Jackson came out of a ghetto. You see what I'm saying? So ghettos are not this kind of.
But the term is like synonymous. It's become synonymous with black.
Yeah,
with
definitely.
Black.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Whereas originally it was Jewish.
That's right. Absolutely.
Jewish.
That's because they were given a quarter. So it's places where they were given a part of a.
So do you think that's the correct name to use then, if it's?
What do you mean?
Like ghettoology.
It's a terminology, isn't it? It's just a terminology. It's not whether it's right or wrong. It's whether or not it suits the purpose, isn't it? Because it's like any terminology that you're going to use. It's going to be English or it's going to be based off of something. So, yeah.
Because for me, I try to get black people away from the ghetto term. Me personally, but I don't know. I think it's kind of counterproductive for the mindset to call someone ghetto, because it comes with a lot of
it does,
connotations.
Yeah, it does, but that comes from fear, and your inability to take charge of something that belongs to you. If you were to take charge, you wouldn't need to do that. You were ghettoized by people, or negatively ghettoized by the people outside of not inside. Living just enough for the city. All these stuff. They was talking from a ghetto perspective. It only become negative now because of various other types of interjections. But ghettos doesn't mean at all means negative anytime.
Do you think is ghetto for you? Is it like a mindset?
Yeah, it's just it's like where you come from. Like white people can come from ghettos. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can come from ghettos. Is like an area, isn't it? Where a lot of black people live and they share certain cultural dynamics and values even at some point. And a lot of it nowadays is based around negativity. But there was a time when it wasn't. And I'm saying that you should never be afraid of a word that, you should never let somebody bend and twist you out of your own beginnings. You should, if you want to let it go. But why I kept on to it, when people say, no, you can't say ghetto, this, that, and the other, I say, well, why? And they say, oh yeah, it's negative and all that. I said, well, that's what you're saying, but that's not what it is.
So you're saying you're reclaiming the word or something like that?
No, it's not. No, the word is as it is. I haven't claimed it at all. It's just what it means. What it means is that people have reinterpreted it to mean something for themselves, isn't it? So it's like, that's almost like the word nigger. You're saying, oh, we've reclaimed it. We haven't reclaimed it. We're just using it because it came from a certain place, and a certain amount of people was saying it in their own ignorance, and So and they're saying it's because we're trying to have something that and I don't know if it works, but whatever you do, it's going to be up for criticism. It doesn't matter what you do. So I think it's important to at least get to a point where you understand what it is you're doing and keep it moving.
You've been talking about race for a long time, and the way people perceive race and racism. Now, in these days, right now, with the whole George Floyd situation, race is back on the agenda of everyone's, a tip of everyone's mind. So when it comes to race and racism, what are your views on just what the term white supremacy means?
Yeah, I don't think, you see, so here we'll get back to names now. So white supremacy, as far as the word supreme, it was championed by Cress Welsing way back in one of her essays. And the word supreme, it doesn't have that connotation, what they're using. It's an elite. It means you're elite. It means you're superb at something. You're sophisticated and developed at something. Not brutal and savage and oppressive. It doesn't mean that. And white supremacy, in terms of words, as we're going to work, that's what they're using this word, and they've given it this, you know, these like gentrification. This is like urban colonization or recolonization. They take words and they decide what they want because they control all the medias. So now people are saying white supremacy. How can it be white supreme and white people are not supreme?
So
you can't execute something that not is. They're not supreme, so how can they then practice supremacy?
I've heard you speak about white people a bit, and I've heard you say something along the lines of, correct me if I'm wrong, that they're subhuman or they're not human.
Well, I believe, this is my personal view and my personal research. I believe that they come from another type of human. You know, you talk about the Nosian, the Neanderthal. We don't have their blood we don't have Neanderthal blood. Africans don't have Neanderthal blood at all. So they're another type of human, whether it's sub or less or whatever. We do know over the years that they are a very brutal race. We do know that, and we do know that now they're trying to make us seem like we're brutal. But we do know that they have done some of the Europeans per se across the globe have enacted some of the most vicious brutalities, especially on dark-skinned people.
But I would say the Arabs too.
Yeah, but to me, you know what I'm saying, they're a lighter-skinned people, and I just think anything, you know what I'm saying. I mean, we're talking about.
With the Arabs, castrated black people.
Oh,
they
absolutely,
enslaved
absolutely. But you see,
so I don't think the brutality is only for one specific people. If other peoples can do it, don't you?
To the same people, though.
To the same people,
right?
Yeah.
So that means that they, in a sense, it might mean they're related in some ways.
What, Arabs and Europeans?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's your take. They must be related.
Of course.
Because they enact the same behaviours.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All of them, all of the lighter skinned people, because if you go to Arab now, a lot of the Arab sheikhs, they're white. They're white skinned. If you go to China now, a lot of the high ranking Chinese, they're white. They're white skinned. If you go to Egypt, a lot of the high ranking people in Egypt, they're white skinned. So they still have the same hierarchy in all of those.
So then where do you think that so because you're talking about white supremacy, so
no, I'm not talking about white supremacy.
We were talking about white
supremacy. Rulership and white domination of the planet, yeah.
So then supremacy, if you're saying it's the elite, or the higher you go, the whiter it gets, wouldn't that be white supremacy? Wouldn't that be we are the most supreme, we're the whitest? No,
it would just mean, no, they're not ruling supreme. You're saying practice white supremacy. They're not, you don't call them, you know, like you have a supreme ruler, he rules over everything. You know what I mean? He's the ruler of all, he's ruler of everyone. You get what I'm saying? So, the supreme ruler, that he rules the entire country, his word is the last word. They don't have none of that. They're not the best athletes. They don't control all the economics. They're just a race that dominates through brutality. So if that's supreme, I don't fancy that word, because I don't see supreme so brutal. I see supreme as something that is well developed and finessed.
Right.
I don't see what they do, like poisoning people and chopping off people's hands and, you know, murdering people and garroting them and taking out their balls and all that. I don't see that as supreme behavior.
When you talk about their brutality, why do you think they are like that then?
I have no idea. I think, again, I'm saying that maybe the idea in the end is to get rid of this race of beings that were here. I don't know whether. See, I don't.
Go into it, man.
No, I don't have all the answers. See, because people then, you know, I don't want to be arrogant to seem that I have all the answers. I'm researching like everybody else. I haven't spent my whole life as an archaeologist, a paleontologist, a historian. So I'm the ghettoologist, which means that for simple people like myself who don't understand certain things, I'm trying to put it together from my studies. You know what I'm saying? So don't
you're trying to reach a certain demographic.
Most definitely. You know what I'm saying? I'm not interested in what white people might think, because they're the first. You know, when I used to go on the television, they used to say, "Oh, do we have to call you doctor?" I said, "I'm not a doctor." He said, "Yeah, but I'm feeling uncomfortable calling you doctor." I said, "And you see how it's spelled?" You know what I'm saying? It's stuff like that. They're a very strange group. So if you try to please them, you're going to end up taking away from the people you're trying to please. That's what I find for myself. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying if you please white people, you end up not pleasing
absolutely,
black people?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Because the type of people, remember, I come through like dancehall, reggae, these are the people I lived amongst. And these are the people that are the most suppressed. These are the people that are most underdeveloped in my mind.
Who are the most underdeveloped?
That group of people.
White people?
No, black people
Black
who,
people, oh, okay.
who kind of like stay sort of in the sort of what you call ghetto areas and mind their business and work for the system. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of their they're not education. I find that they're not educationally developed. So a lot of their education comes through the music.
Black people?
Yeah, for those people that demographic I'm just talking about, yeah.
So wouldn't you want to raise that vibration and wouldn't you want to raise that?
Yeah, but they control it. The white people control it. What they did over the last few years, I did a whole series of shows telling you what's going to happen in this era because of what they've done to the music. I went on Kilroy, we talked about it on Kilroy, that the music is moving to a point where you're going to create homicidal young children. You know what I mean? And they said, and they've done, and this is what white people do. They make their own studies and create their own value system and create their own answers and questions. So they can then tell you that music doesn't affect no one. They'll do a study and then say advertising don't affect anyone.
No,
they're going to do another study and say that violent games don't affect anyone.
Well, that would be stupid though.
Well, they've done it though. They've done it. They've clearly done it.
Yeah,
you're saying that. You see what I'm saying? They do these things because they have total control of everything. So when they'll tell you that water is good for you and it's great and it's better than even bottled water. But then you find out that it was done by Thames Water. The survey was done. You know what I mean?
So would you say you yourself hate white people?
No. I wouldn't say I hate white people. I was brought up by white people. I mean, not brought up. I sparred with a lot with white people. You know what I'm saying? The first black book I read was given to me by my social worker, a white woman. You know what I'm saying? I've dated white girls. It's not about that. It's about understanding the difference between me and them. Because you've
dated white girls.
Yeah.
But you said they were subhuman.
I didn't say there was something. You said there was something.
You said they were like.
I said they developed from something. Yeah.
They're not
but
human.
This is the tricky part of your type of journalism, right? I'm not saying necessarily you. What you do is like you juxtaposition stuff. You take them out of their timeline. So when I would have said that, when we were talking about ghetto, how many years would that have been ago? Yeah. So what you're saying is, what you're asking then? Do I hold the same views I hold a long time ago? Do I hold the same views now? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Okay.
Or are you saying that I'm saying that they're subhuman now? Is that what you're saying?
Okay. So
I don't know what you're saying.
Right.
I'm making it up.
I'll clarify it. So you said you've dated white girls.
Yeah.
But at the time when you were dating them, did you have these same views?
No.
You didn't.
No.
Okay. Fair enough.
I didn't know. I wasn't born like this. You know what I'm saying? That's not how it works. Of course it is. I didn't know. There's a lot of things I didn't know when I was growing up. You know what I'm saying? I didn't. I no longer put
so you wouldn't date them now?
I wouldn't put my tongue in any girl's mouth now today. Any girl.
What?
So these are things that you learn. You find it funny, but
you're gonna have to explain
these are things that you learn. I'm just trying to show you how the timeline works.
Yeah.
I was putting my tongue in girls' mouth 25 years ago, whatever. I don't do it now. So that's what happens in life. You move from one state of mind to another.
Is there a particular reason why?
Because I've just found out about the DNA. You know what I mean? And there is no, in terms of my own research. And remember, I'm not telling you not to do it.
Yeah,
I'm just showing you how stuff evolves.
How you came to
right, and I'm saying that because I realised that it's only, there's nothing in the mouth that's sexual at all. Anything that you put in the mouth is for digestion. Everything that's made in the mouth is to digest it. That means that you're actually digesting somebody else's spit when you in love and kissing them. And when I found that out, I just decided I'm not doing that again. As simple as that.
That's an interesting view, boy.
Yeah. It's a fact. It's not an interesting view at all. It's just that I'm holding on to it by saying, it's just like when you say, oh, I don't eat pork no more. I ate pork when I was younger. Then I reached a point when I discovered something about pork, then I stopped eating pork. But there's some people, they'll discover something and then still keep eating the pork because the pork tastes nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, see what I'm saying? But I'm just telling you how at that point in my life, even now, I would still go out with a white girl. Why wouldn't I go out with her? She's not, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't change my views. I don't hate white people. I hate what white people as a power base is doing to black people across the world. Nothing to do with the individual white.
So you would still date a white woman?
I would go out with a white woman. Yeah, why not? I don't understand. There are people. I would date with French, English, Colombian.
No, I'm only saying because it seems like the stuff you've said in the past. I've listened to some of your stuff and the way in which you.
And what have I said that you feel that would have made I wouldn't chat to white people? I live in an all bubble, just all black people.
When you kind of say that people are not completely human or alien, you've used the term alien.
Absolutely.
You said they were aliens.
Yeah.
So then it's like
foreign to this world.
Why would you date an alien?
Because
in what sense?
Because I'm socialized. You know what I mean? You're like, you're thinking in a sense of like, just like how some white journalists do. They try to absolute everything and try to turn your words into something like, you'll say to them, I don't like pink. And they go, that means that what you saying about blue? I'm saying, like, what, don't you like blue then? Like, you know, it has nothing. One has nothing to do with the other, because you know we're talking about white power, a white power domination. You know what I'm saying? That you always hear white people said, well, I didn't have no slaves. Probably you didn't.
Right.
But your great-great-granddad might have had.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you have always been a working class person since slavery, you know, and you've always come down that line. So maybe you didn't have a slave, for real. That is totally possible. Not every single white person had a slave. But but you see, there's so much trickery in conversations and in journalism, especially British journalism, that you can't get a clear line of thought anytime. Because somebody's always trying to trip.
Talking.
No, that's why somebody's always trying to trip you up. But it's clear, what I'm saying is clear. Obviously, I'm talking about white power, not white individuals, but you're saying, that's not obvious.
That's what it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, but it doesn't sound like that. That's what you're making it sound like, because it doesn't sound like that to me.
Well, that's maybe because you didn't clarify it.
Yeah. No, okay, fair enough, if that's what you think.
No, I'm just saying, because I said I've listened to a lot of your stuff.
Yeah, because you have a viewpoint.
And you say white people.
Right.
You don't say, oh, a white individual. You actually say, you
white
specify
people,
white people.
Yeah, because it's a generality that's always used when you speak. Everybody, like say, when I say black people can dance, nobody worries about individuals. Nobody goes, well, I know some guy that, they don't do that. It's only when you talk about white people and the protectionism that's surrounding around trying to defend yourself as a race that this comes up. It doesn't come up nowhere else.
What do you
that
mean,
generality of using the term, when you say black people do this, or it's the black youths, is it every black youth? When you say the black youths are on the street, is it every black youth? Of course it's not. But you didn't think it was every black youth. You only think it's every white youth or white people when I say white people, isn't it?
But the reason why I ask that, because in my experience, I've heard and seen a lot of black men disrespect white people, but then go with a white woman. And I'm wondering because when you said that, I'm wondering if you're one of those individuals, because it's like, it's as if the white woman gets a pass sometimes for a lot of black men.
That's like a worship of white women then, isn't it? It's like you must think that white women are to be worshipped. Like, you mean like, so white, you know, people diss black women and still go with them. Black men diss black women and go with black women. So what's different to dissing a white woman or a Colombian woman and still going with them? Sometimes it depends. If a man's selling an ideology, that's different.
So they're not all alien then?
Let me finish.
Yeah,
if you're selling an ideology, then you have to justify the ideology. If you're just making a comment about the way you feel at a given time, you don't have to justify shit to no one.
Okay.
And you're saying if they're all alien, I'm saying that they herald from, in my opinion, they herald from something alien to this planet. You know what I'm saying? Or something that's not in harmony with this planet. Right? That's my view. Yeah. So.
And you came to that based on studying who they are and what they do.
Yeah, right. And also, but in the meantime, right now we're going with white people right now. Right, you know, for years and years and years, white people have been intermingling with black. You've watched as the whole of almost Brazil in my lifetime has turned from dark-skinned people to light-skinned people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In a
you
lifetime.
do have the dark-skinned people in Brazil, in the ghettos.
Of course, in the ghettos again, in the ghettos, right? So they push them back, and the favelas, right? So they push them back. But what I'm saying to you is that just shows you what I'm trying to say. Is that there's a movement, there's a power movement based upon the white ideology to push dark-skinned people back. And all this idea that it's love and all that, this is I believe social manipulation. You know what I'm saying? Like by pushing, like even like the first few, I spoke about this the other day. The first few champion black men of the I don't like the term, but the Windrush era, say, that whole movement of Caribbean. The first few men that ever made it, all of them had white women, every single one. So what I wanted to know is, where did that pattern come from? Was it a white person's pattern, or was it a black person's pattern? Did white people tend to like black guys who acted more white and adopted the white culture and a white woman more than they liked the black guys who adopted the black culture and black women? Was that because there was no coincidence going on there? It was loads of them. All the major runners were with white women.
And you think that is reason because?
I'm just asking. Even if there's no reason, there's always patterns, isn't there? Even there's no, where did that pattern come from? Where did where did that rhythm of black men with white women only becoming stars over the last, from the 60s to say the 90s? Where did that pattern come from?
Right.
That's it. So you can't blame it on any one thing. You can't say it's this or it's that, but you can see the pattern. And then any normal person will say, where did that pattern come from? So I'm saying that they control everything, and they are very dominant about their culture and their way. And they will let you in as long as they feel that you've compromised your views and your values.
Right.
So if you're a black guy and you want to go somewhere, compromise yourself enough for them to trust you.
But then when you say if you're a black guy, like what is a black guy to you? Like I don't get that. Like
Black
what is a
culture.
black guy?
All right, there's two cultures, right? There's black culture and there's white culture. Yes, are we clear about that? Are we sure about that?
No, I'm not.
All right. So what
I'm
is your
not-
definition
I'm
of
saying
being
that-
a black guy living amongst
But there are cultures. You can be black in Zimbabwe. You can be black in Brazil. You can be black
Right.
over here. You can
Right.
be black
Right.
in Nigeria.
Right.
The
So that's not a culture then?
Yeah, but the cultures may differ from black culture to black culture. So
Right.
there can't be a monolithic.
No,
black
it's not
culture.
money. Again, back to the generalization. We're talking generalizations here. Because, I mean, it's very intelligent to already assume that they're not the same culture. That's very intelligent. I think it's very argumentative and slightly slippery. You know what I'm saying? To almost trip up the argument and waylay the argument. You know what I mean? To stop the argument moving forward.
No, because you said black culture and white culture.
It's absolute. No, I said that, but it's a generalization. It's absolutely clear from any intelligent human being that I don't mean all countries are the same. You can't then look at an intelligent person and then say this is what they believe. If you want to know, he said, do you mean all cultures? You say, oh, you said all cultures, so that's what you mean.
But
First, you need to ask me what I mean.
You said black culture and white culture.
No. Because you're false. This is what I'm saying. This is what the trickery. I'm used to this journalism. It's trickery journalism. It's not real journalism. Because you're forcing upon me what you hold to be a value that everybody else wants to hold, which is let's try and trip him up. Now it's fine.
All right. So clarify the point then.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. Like it's clear. I wouldn't really need to. Because it should come as par for the course that I don't mean all black cultures are the same. Where would I get that from? So I'm not subliterate, I'm not semi-literate. So there would be an understanding unless you wanted to talk about separate black cultures. Now what you do is you cannot have every argument made all the time, all at once. So you have to make this argument and then go back and make another argument. What you want to do, you're arguing two different at the same time.
Right,
so you mean all black cultures? I'm saying this is what white journalists do and television does. Say no, that's like I said to you about the colour. You say I don't like blue. Does that mean you don't like? Well, blue's made out of white. That means you don't like white people.
No, but I'm trying to get what you mean by, because I need to know what you mean by black culture. Or when you said you're a black guy.
Yeah, and you live in black culture, and you live in white culture. So it could be French white culture. I mean, these are, it's quite remedial for me to have to describe to somebody who's intellectual.
When you're a black guy.
Let me finish. Like this is what I'm saying. It's quite remedial for a man who's educated to talk to another man who's educated, who doesn't hold supremacist, as you said, values or any staunch. So unless that's what you're trying to find out. So then you can ask me those direct questions. But I think this is the journalism of Britain, or the journalism of these people who use their white power to manipulate, and then everybody else picks up on it because they're trying to trip you up. They're not trying to have an interview. Now, what I'm saying to you is that it's
Is that
clear.
what you think I'm trying to do? Trip you up?
This is what I get all the time, yeah. Because you're asking me the questions that I think logically they have their own waylay. They have their own pattern.
I'm trying to clarify the point.
But what I'm saying to you, but you know what generalization is, right? Yes or no?
Yeah, I know what generalization is.
Right, so, and I gave you examples of what the I've already given you them. And yet you've still gone back.
You've given me the generalizations on what exactly?
I said to you what a generalization is, right?
And how generalization is,
and how we use them, right? I've said that, yeah? Right, so therefore, part for the course now should mean that you would hope that that's it. So you could say, to further the argument, so when you speak, you generalize it, rather than, black culture, that's what you should say. Because you've already
so
had.
You want me to?
No, I don't want you to say anything.
You want me to tell you what to say?
No. I'm not saying what you should say. I'm saying that's when you're not trying to trip somebody up. When you're trying to trip somebody up, you go back over and pretend you didn't hear the first lot of argument, and then you've gone back with it again. So then it creates another hiccup.
Would it be? Best
you don't have to do
say
anything. I'm saying.
when you're speaking, you speak in generalizations.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Right, so let's go back.
Okay. So is this what you wanted me to clear? So we're now clear.
Yeah. Now we're
right, so
now we're doing generals.
Right. Okay. Right. So now we're talking in generalizations, as you've understood. Black culture is different from white culture. You know what I'm saying? Whatever culture, Zimbabwean, Rwandan, whatever, right? We have separate cultures, right? We have separate developments, right? We eat according to where we land mass, we eat separate foods, yeah? We have separate celebrations. But when you integrate, or when you're combined, then you start to share celebrations. So when I'm saying black culture, I'm talking about the one that's separate, even though clearly we're integrated into a culture because we're brought here. I eat fish and chips, for instance. I don't just eat yam and banana or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to have that slight bit of integration. That's just part of the course. So if you then trip me up and say, oh, yeah, but you eat white food, which I've had as well. It's like, well, as I said to you, we're not there. I'm just trying to show you a point where I'm at. not where you want me to be at. You see what I'm saying? Unless it's troublesome to you where I'm at. See what I'm
For
saying?
me, it's not troublesome to me. That's why I'm here to, talk.
So this is what I'm saying. So when you've reached the point of understanding the cultures, then, even to a point we walk different. You know what I'm saying? Even to a point we talk different. To a point, right? So then we create a music that's different to that culture. Then that culture fancies that country's music and has dominion and power over them, and then hijacks it, and then creates something that they like in the culture, and then you start to sell it, because the more you sell what they like in your culture, is the more they'll pay for it. You know what I'm saying? But they took it from your culture. They didn't create it. It wasn't their culture that created it. Yeah. So this is what I'm talking about. Different cultures. Sorry, I forgot what the.
No. We can go. We go into culture because I'm gonna hop onto the Black Lives Matter thing that's going on right now. Do you support the Black Lives Matter movement?
I support the statement.
Right. Okay.
I support the statement.
But you don't support the actual organisation?
No.
Why not?
Because it's not where my value system's at. My value system isn't at transgender families, and my value system isn't at change of sex and all that kind of stuff. That's not my value system. So therefore, I couldn't support that.
Do you think that is do you think that is encroaching upon what you would call black culture, the transgender culture?
Well, we don't have a history of that type of culture. Not that I'm aware of. I've never been aware of a transgender culture in black culture anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they've got some things in Haiti where women, put on wigs and da-da-da. But in terms of a commercial culture.
Because I've heard people say that you're homophobic. That's what people
have said. Yeah. I did a whole thing about gays and all that. Yeah, but gays are gays, isn't it? They go with men.
Would you class yourself as homophobic?
No, because that means, when I break it down, it means fear of the same, or fear of men. That's when I break it down. It means that. So I got no fear of man. I got fear of nobody. You know what I'm saying? So what does that mean? So going back to the same what you said about supremacy and all the other words that you're using, these words are you see what I'm saying? It's easy for people to pick up words that the government and the commercial system tells you to use, and you don't question it. You get what I'm saying? Homophobic doesn't mean fear of gay people. It means fear of the same.
Fear of the same?
Yeah, all phobias are fear. Anything that has phobia or phobic after, that means fear of. And then you have the initial word.
So what about the homo on the
it means man. So it means man fear then, doesn't it?
A man fear.
Well, homo means man, is a short for man.
Yeah, but then you know the terminology in which they use it.
You see now?
So the terminology.
So you've come back to me with the same thing I was coming at with you.
No, I'm saying, so you know the terminology in which they use it.
Right.
You wouldn't class yourself as that.
Right.
Right. Okay. No, I'm just clarifying.
Yeah. So I'm saying. So again, you see what I'm saying? Because the words are delivered in a certain way, people then say, "Oh, this is how we use this term, and this is what it means." And actually, it doesn't mean that. But you've decided that you're going to hijack the term, and this is favourable to you. You know what I'm saying?
So in the terms of supremacy, again, for me, I talk a lot about the Abrahamic religions, and I feel that the Abrahamic religions want to be supreme, quote unquote, over all other religions. How do you feel about?
I would agree with that.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. Because I mean, they're almost untouchable right now. You can't even you can't say anything about them without them coming after you. They've created a power network that says anybody that says anything untoward about us, so we're going to get them. And I think everybody's trying to do that now. The gays, the transsexuals, they're all trying to create a power network that you can't say anything. You know what I'm saying? The only people that don't have that is black people. That you can say anything about black people you want, and they just maybe write you a note or something, but they have no power. Then what they have to do is they have to go to their white counterpart and say, "Can you help me out here? Look, they're calling me a nigger."
What do you think? I said I've heard a lot of what you speak about. What do you think are the solutions for black people or black culture?
There is no solutions. There is no solutions. There's processes that you can engage in terms of to make your living. There's no solutions at present.
No solutions at present?
None.
None can be you don't think any can be?
There isn't any. If you mention one or two.
I'm asking.
What exactly? Exactly, because it's non-existent. People ask for silliness because they're duped. They are for stupidity because they're scared. It's fear that makes you say, "What's your solution then?" I've been doing this for how many years? How many decades? And I've been hearing what's the solution for all that time, and I haven't seen one today. I've seen a black man come to the president, 10 grillion times more power than me, and I haven't seen his. But you ask me mine. It's just a foolhardy question.
Yeah, but that president wasn't for black people, was it?
No, but it's a power. It's a power. You know what I'm saying? What was his solution for anything? There is no solution.
He had his solutions for his country, I guess.
Which was what?
Try and get them out of debt or
he had a stuff
like that.
There was no solution. These are not solutions that I'm trying to tell you. Solutions means an end to a process. it's difficult as well, like when we talk like this, because I'm all about, like, if we're gonna try and fight our way out of this, we've got to grab control of something. We can't just let everybody dictate how we talk and what we're supposed to say. And one of the key things for me is try to grab hold of the language, because we know it, you know, and it's being used almost like counterfeit money. You know, it's not being used properly. You know what I'm saying? Because when you use the word negrophobia, Negro means a black man. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean same, it doesn't mean homo. Negro, according to their own breakdown, means black man. But I've never heard people use that term. With all the fear that they've got. Yeah, with all the fear that they've got for black men and black boys, I've never heard them use that term. You know why? Because the white community won't, what they call it, not red line, fast track it. They won't allow it through their system.
But the term racism uses it.
They came up with Islamophobia. They came up with it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They come up with it.
What,
Gentrification, all of these, I'm saying they came up with it. You know what I'm saying? They've red line, they've given it the go ahead by saying, oh, that's fine, we can use that, that's fine. Like gentrification, all these terms they come up with in their media, and they give a tick, oh yeah, that's a sign of approval. But words that mean something that we come up with doesn't get passed.
But we're supposed to give ourselves the power of the words.
But we don't. That's what I'm saying to you. We listen unto them. We're supposed to, but we don't, do we? If we did, we'd be in a better position. We don't have no organisation like that. They have the gay organisations, they have the transgender organisation. Transgenders coming in under the Black Lives Matter organisation on this thing, you know, all this kind of stuff. And we you know, we got black men who are interested in white women, and have that, you know, whole mixed race thing going on. And you have black men who are interested in black women. So there's I've
heard you talk about mixed race people.
Yeah, there's a divide there in the argument. Like some people say, oh, mixed race people are half black and not real.
What
black,
do you think?
Well, it's what they are. I mean, the mum's white or the dad's white and the mum's black. So they're half of each, isn't it? So that's what they are. They're mixed race. They can't be either or either. But if they decide they want to be one, that's up to them. But biologically, they're still the same. Right. Just like a transgender, all this stuff is what I have a problem with. This is what I talk about. You know, you cannot, you know, how can it ever be fair that you can meet a guy and you're a woman and you don't have to tell him that you've transited from and it's fine. Where did they get this from? And where's the moral, like, the morality and the ethics of that understanding? And then what they would do, like, if I was like a celebrity, they'd come down to me, like, you know what I mean? They would want to mess with my food, my family, every money that I'm making, just because I don't agree. So the idea that these people are pleasant is erroneous. They're not pleasant people. Homosexuals and gay, they're not pleasant. They when they're going for what they're going, they will destroy you. And all you do is give it, it's not like you're saying, oh, the worst, you know, transgenders are the worst people on the planet, or the this or the that or that. You're saying, I don't agree with that. And that's all you have to say for them to come after you and want to ruin your life. So that's almost like a terrorist organisation.
So when you say homosexuals are not pleasant, so are you talking about culture again?
What
like
we just said, yeah, I'm saying, like, what we're talking about is those ones that do what they do, not every single homosexual. Again,
okay, so no, I'm saying,
going back to the generality.
Is it a culture?
No, like, yeah, they're not happy people. They're not hippies. They're not, you know, they're not a bunch of all happy people. They're racist. Homosexuals have racism towards other. This has been told to me by a black homosexual. They're racist as well. They're not a special group of people that don't do anything in a special bubble. They're human beings that like each other, you know, the same sex, right? So back to that, they're still functioning as human beings, and the racism is still there. The hatred is still there. The anger is still there. They're not special people. They're just people that their speciality is that they like the same sex.
I've heard people call you angry though.
I'm very angry sometimes, yeah.
Wow, okay. What's the reason for that?
But it's temperament, we've all given it. But I harness mine. I'm not punching you in the face.
No.
You know what I mean? My anger is harnessed, isn't it? You've never heard of me punching a guy in his face or knocking him out.
I've heard a lot about you though, but
you've heard a lot. You've heard a lot about my anger or my vexation.
Yeah,
that's because
vexation,
but that's because of the power and the passion of what I have to say. I'm not Trevor McDonald. I'm not being employed by white people to behave perform in a particular way. I have the remit.
Do you think that tarnishes your message when you're so angry?
To who?
The demographic that you're trying to reach.
Why would it?
I don't know, I'm just saying, because a lot of people don't want to constantly be around angry on...
But I'm not constantly angry though. I'm angry when I'm supposed to be angry.
You're angry when you're supposed to be angry?
Yeah, when I'm angry I'm supposed to be angry.
But it's like a general thing that's said about you though, like he's vexed.
Yeah, but
he's got vexation, he's angry.
Yeah, of course, but I came out like that. That was, how many years ago was that? I came out like that, of course, and I'm still like that. But as you grow, you harness. You get better at doing other stuff, don't you? Just like Malcolm X did. It's not like saying you can't look at Malcolm X as a criminal he was. You have to look at what
Yeah,
he
you have to
became.
look at what he became, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So that's where I'm at. That's what I mean. Like I'm the same. I'm the same. Have the same humanity as these people. You grow. But if you want to, again, this is what I'm talking about, tricks of journalism. If you want to keep me stuck somewhere and you want to trip me up, you're going to keep doing, you know what I'm saying? You're going to keep doing the things to keep tripping me up. You're not you necessarily. I'm just talking about what I found in journalism. You're not going to do the things to embellish my argument. So if you go to a black journalist or black culture journalist, they don't do that. They just say, you know, like, okay, because they're basically biased to a way. So they're not as what's the word? What word I'm looking for? They're not as in the middle. What's the word?
On the fence?
No, impartial. They're not as impartial.
Okay.
Yeah. So they'll probably be a little bit, but this is fair. But what I'm saying to that, everybody's a little bit partial. So when you speak to a white journalist or people who are quite culturally exercised in terms of journalism, they will do that to you because they're trying to champion this type of cause. They don't want you to say something that you can't, you know, like, oh, you can't say that because this. Why can't I say it? I just said it. You know, why did my man say black people are pickaninnies with watermelon smiles? You know what I'm saying? Why could he say that? Why can everybody say what they want except for when a black man wants to speak,
So
he has to be sanctioned?
You believe in freedom of speech then?
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay.
Without a shadow of a
So
doubt.
do I. I'm a freedom of speech advocate.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean, but again, you know what I'm saying, that people say, well, you know, it's not for people to go around and be disrespectful and say, you nigger this, you nigger that, and, you know,
Some of the things that you probably said people find disrespectful though.
Well, I hear that, but there's coarseness, I suppose. You've got to measure it somehow, haven't you? You got to tell the difference between a jab and a knockout punch. You can't all just be leveled out, can it?
Right.
There has to be something to define it and orchestrate it to a point, isn't it? So I'm not saying that there should be, but there should be a line where you know what I'm saying, say, okay, yeah, whoa, bro. You know what I'm saying? I get ya. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might have Katie Hopkins on one hand, you might have Tommy Robinson on the other hand, you might have, you know, the Prime Minister of England. You might have the Prime Minister's dad saying that, you know, white the British public hasn't got a brain cell to rub together. You might have that. You might have Piers Morgan saying that somebody should be taken out and shot.
The thing is with your way, for me, with your way of thinking, it for me seems old school, a lot of the stuff that you say. When I say old school, I'm from a different generation. Do you get what I'm saying? So when you speak like this, it kind of feels like a little bit too angry and a little bit too angst.
How?
Like the way in which you describe, like, you know, people as aliens, and I think the terminology is combative. I think the terminology is like I think it's gonna get people's backs up instantly, and if you're trying to have a conversation, then you're probably going to get the wrong energy from people.
Yeah, of course, because they're not ready for that argument. It means they're not in control of themselves. It means they haven't developed themselves properly. Because when it comes to David Icke, everybody knows how to stay in control of themselves. Then he calls the queen of the country a reptile.
Yeah, he does.
You know what I'm saying? And he says all this other stuff. But again, going back to the black man argument, every time it comes to a black man coming outside of that controlled value system, there is a problem with him, never anybody else. If a white man comes out, Piers Morgan has disrespected so many people in front of millions, nothing is still there. Kate Hopkins has read and chatted so much disgusting stuff. She's got millions of followers. And she's been on Twitter, she's had jobs in the newspaper, and little me says a couple of stuff, oh, nobody's going to listen to you, bruv, you're too angry. And excuse me? Is that where we at?
No, you've definitely got to follow it.
You just said to me that I'm old school, or you think it's old.
Yeah, so in my view it is.
And that's fine, but I'm saying, but when I look at what's going on there, I'm seeing a whole bunch of people getting away with some old shit with millions of followers. That's what I'm saying. So I don't understand what new title I'm supposed to have.
But then
now.
Don't you think there's a game to be played?
Like what? Like Monopoly or chess?
No, just like in general as a black man. So
chess?
don't you think there's a game to be played?
Or do you think there's a game? I don't know who's asking who here.
I think there's a game to be played.
Right, so but I don't want to play the game that you want to play though. This is the problem.
No, you don't have to play my game.
No, right. So
I'm just
therefore,
saying as a black man.
so how do you know I'm not playing the game?
True, you could be. You could
Exactly.
be outsmarting everyone.
I could be playing the game.
You could be
You know what I'm
outsmarting
saying?
everyone.
Because
True,
I've read The Art of War a few times. You know what I'm saying?
me too.
Yeah. So therefore, there's games to be played. All games are not played the same way under the same rules.
True indeed.
So, for you to say that again, if you read The Art of War,
But
you
I'm
would
just saying,
understand.
like, okay, so you've been doing this, like, you said in this conversation that there are no solutions.
No.
You said there are no solutions. I don't view the world like that.
That's
I view in my generation, I feel like my generation are attempting to come to solutions for black people.
They're not.
Yeah,
I don't see any.
I actually believe
What
they
they're
are.
doing is they're invoking processes yeah, that's going to help them get along through this life. None of those are solutions. Solutions comes to an end of a problem. It doesn't, invoking a process is not a solution. It's just
So you
invoking
don't
a
think
process.
there's anyone trying to end problems?
Of course, everybody's invoking process. Everybody is. You're
No, but
asking me
trying to
about
end problems.
You asking me about a solution. You cannot end the solution that we're in like this, like tomorrow or next week.
No, I mean,
what you do is you enter into processes that will lead to a problem and end product. That's what you're doing. So when you ask me if there's a solution,
is that part of the solution to enter the
no,
process?
but no, that's a different set. That's a different set. Solution and is that part of the solution? These are when you write them down, they're different questions and they mean different things.
So solution is just enter the outcome. You're saying,
right.
yeah. But to get to that end
process,
outcome,
yeah.
you have to go through
The
processes.
and that's
okay.
why, and I agree with the processes. I'm saying there's loads of processes. You're asking
But
me.
you said there's no solution though.
Well, how can there be a solution if we're still in the process?
Yeah, but
you
you're
can't get to the
but
solution.
you're looking to the solution. You have to
Yeah,
go
but
through the
that's
process
what
to go to the solution.
That's not what you said. You said what solution is there? You see, this is what I'm telling you about this language, right? If you're going to say something, know what you're saying, innit? You can't be talking about getting to a place like,
But if I say we got to go down there, we got to walk there first. innit?
Right, right. But are we there?
No, we're not there.
Right.
But
So
we're trying to
therefore,
get
you
there.
can't talk about being there until you're there, right?
No.
So what do you say?
No.
You say we're traveling towards. That's a white bench. We are traveling towards a white bench. That's our end goal. The end goal is the white bench.
Yeah.
So we are traveling. Is that the solution?
No, the end goal is the white bench.
Right, that's it. So are we anywhere near that? No. So that means that everybody's involved in a process towards the white bench. And so the process in terms of, if we break it down for us, would be walking. Right. So or running or some type of movement, right?
Yeah.
So those are the processes. The movements are everywhere. Marcus Garvey had one. You know, the Black Panthers have one. Pan-Africanists have one. They're all movements towards a solution. But what people are doing is asking the average man like me, I'm an average guy to a point, what the solution is.
So the solution is, if correct me if I'm wrong, the solution is to enter into processes.
That's not a solution though. You understand what I'm saying? We're entering into a process to find the solution. You can't then use the word and trick it. It's a trick. You're going to say the solution is to enter into a process. To enter into a process.
No, so say the solution is 100% utopian freedom. Imagine that's the solution.
That's the end. That would be
that's the end product.
Right,
yeah.
right.
But to get to there, you're going to have to enter into processes in which to get there.
That's right.
Right.
That's it. That's not a solution, though.
You
see, this is what I'm saying. You still want,
solution.
no matter what I say, this is what you lot do. Not you lot, as in, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, the journalists, right?
It's bad.
Yeah, you enter into processes and you won't let it go, even though you're shown that it doesn't work. A solution is an end to a process, right?
But doesn't it take
We're
time,
clear.
though?
We're clear about that, right? So you're doing a crossroad and you want the solution. Once you get the solution, doesn't it end? Right. But the first thing you got to enter into in order to get to the solution is the writing and the thinking of it, right?
Right.
So that can't be the solution then, is it? The solution is when it's finished.
No, but to get to the solution, to get to the end goal, you've got to enter into those
processes. Right, that's what I'm saying.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you're saying it's the solution. I'm saying it's not the solution, is it? It's the process. The solution is when it's finished.
The process is the solution.
Okay.
If you don't enter into the processes, there will be no solution.
And that's that.
Right?
That's like I said. You know what I'm saying? You're asking for a solution. I said there isn't none. You're saying you have to enter into the process. I said fine.
I think we might have missed each other somewhere. You know?
Because we're sparking in circles. Like the process, people are asking me what is the solution, yeah? Right? Not asking me what a solution is or what, yeah, but you see, you're going to now move the...
All right, let's go with solution then. Let's go with solution. In your view, what does your utopian view of black culture, black people look like?
I really don't have one, to tell you the truth.
No.
I really don't have one, no. Because that's way beyond my remit.
Do you not want black people to be better than where they are now?
In terms of, I want white people to be a lot more different to what they are as well, because we're under their yoke at the moment, all over the world. So yeah, that too, both of them, yeah.
Right, so for me, this is what I'm trying to say with my generation. So if I can say, I want black people to be better at doing X, I will try and attempt to enter into processes that will get me to that end goal.
Great stuff. That's what all the movement's about.
But that's what I'm saying. Like for me, that's what I think my generation are doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I look at the older generation.
That's a bit cheap, bro.
No, I feel
so
like
Marcus Garvey was just twiddling his thumbs then, right?
No, Marcus Garvey was amazing.
Right, so what do you mean your generation? So Malcolm X was twiddling his thumbs then?
That generation
was Martin Luther King twiddling his thumbs?
No.
So
that generation of men are not built nowadays.
Right. So
I feel that generation of men have gone down the
and
drain.
you might,
I don't know where they are.
You might have a point.
I'm
You might have a point.
attempting to
might,
invoke that kind of spirit.
You might have a position there, but what I'm saying to you is that no matter every way you're going to look at it, somebody's having some type of movement. No one's sitting still. It's just that, as you said, I think a lot of it is to do with the fear and the whole love and the whole advertisement of money. And the whole, getting stuff to be someone like Gucci, you know what I'm saying? The whole era of misrepresenting and not understanding your own culture, not understanding that the culture of poor blacks is driven through their music. So if you taint their music, it's like poisoning their water. And that's what's happened. You get what I'm saying? But because when I was saying what I was saying a couple of decades ago, no one cared, I don't have no power. See, what people are going for is money. And money isn't power. Money just it assumes like it's power, but it's not power. So
what is power then?
Power is having the ability to move masses of people. You know what I'm saying? So industry, music.
But you need money to do that.
Well, no, because no. Yeah. You see, so no. You know why I'm saying that? No, because it's those semantical arguments. Like when we're saying money, we're not talking about searching for money. Yeah. So let's be clear. We're not talking about running down money and looking for money to be able to do that. Those are not the people that are doing it. The people that affected the change, the yellow jackets in France, they didn't need money to do that. Maybe, and so this is where the money comes in. They needed money to buy the yellow jackets.
Yeah.
But again, in a general sense, hopefully people would know we're not talking about little bitties of money.
Yeah, of course.
Right, generally.
Of course.
So I'm saying that money, the idea that the music has focused everybody on money and getting stuff. Look where they've gone. They've gone to buy they've bought out probably the whole of Gucci. They've raised their stocks to at skyline. You know what I'm saying? So, but power now is when, do you know of RJ Solutions? Have you heard of that in America? No, you know why? Because it's meaningless to you. But guess what you do know? If I said to you, the guy who sold BET, he runs that company, right? So that's why he has money now, but the power's gone. The only thing we know him powerfully for is BET. So we keep referring to him as the man. So that was the power was at BET. He sold that for money to create RJ. Well, nobody knows, and he's got a billion. So with the billion, he started off with 100,000 on that, turned it into that amount. So he had power then. He's made that into a billion, and he has no power now.
So he can't now use that money to create power.
Well, you saw him. He's asking
I'm not saying it's the right thing to do.
No,
money.
it's not about right or wrong. I'm just trying. We're making You see, we're not God, so we can't make these great decisions. We're discussing a point and how we see a point. And I'm saying, he's done that, right? But he no longer has that power. So he's asked the government for 14 trillion in terms of reparations. That's he came out of nowhere just asking him for that. And guess what he's known by? The guy who sold a billion, you know what I mean, for a billion. He's not known by RJ Solutions, who tore up the world and created great financial, no, he's known for BET that he sold. So that's what I'm trying to say to you, that there's things that we're being miseducated because I believe there's a surreptitious energy amongst us, digressing our arguments. Just like how we just woke up and found out that this group of people are using Black Lives Matter to talk about transgenderism. So, those are not the things that what we should be talking about in terms of power, not money. Money isn't power. You get what I'm saying? Money can buy you stuff and buy you the Rolls Royce to look like you're powerful, but it's not the same as having power. Having power is people who can move masses of people. I'm trying to gain power. Yeah, and that you have to have ability to move the masses. That's what power, that's where that type of power that we need for our revolutionary sort of zeal or cause. We need mass power. You can't, money, if you even had $1 million, you still couldn't do it right now. Without gaining that type of power. Of course it will help, but it's still, there's loads of people with millions that they ain't got that type of power.
But maybe they ain't got the right mindset.
And maybe they haven't, but they don't have the power. So I'm saying it's not automatic, that's what I'm saying. It's not automatic, like when people get people to have revolutions. Yes, everything they need some type of materialism. Everything needs materialism. So no matter what you're doing, there's going to be a material aspect to it, isn't it? So that might be money, that might be guns, it might be, it might be paper airplanes, whatever's needed. It might be pens. There's always a material aspect to every revolution or every change or every movement. What I am saying though, is that is not the key aspect of the movement. That is just a part of the move. Once you get the mindset
Right.
of people, right, like the people who threw out that chopped off, let them eat cake chick, Marie Antoinette.
Okay.
Yeah, they went up there. These are not trained soldiers, bruv. These were guys that.
Last thing before we leave, the tearing down of the statues in the UK and the US, are you for it or against it?
It's whatever, isn't it? Like, it doesn't matter to me. I don't know what difference it really makes. For me, what difference does it make? And all these these are not power moves. These are symbolic gestures, which doesn't lead to anywhere. And then we're going to end up being called Black and Asian, and it's not power moves at all. But again, it's what I'm saying of the difference between power and knowledge and all that. If you know what you're doing, that would be the least. That wouldn't matter to you. What would matter to you is whether or not the government's going to change its mind about the way it's dealing with black people across the police force, in the industries, and da-da-da. That would matter. That would be like, wow, you mean they did that? They tore down some statue and they're going to stick him in a museum. And that's like, wow. What they're going to give monies now. Remember, the thing was directed for black people, right? And it was a black situation that creates all this thing, right? And then it ends up going to all kinds of ethnic minorities so other people can siphon off of it. But I guarantee if it was Chinese, I don't think we'd be in that argument. That's just my view. You know what I mean?
Dr. X, I'm going to have to cut you there.
Excellent.
Thank you very much for joining me, man.
I respect, man.
All right.